Every night I hear my grandmother singing, but she has been buried for 2 years. Imagine hearing a voice, soft, haunting, familiar, floating through the darkness every night. A song that should be impossible because the woman who sang it has been gone, buried beneath the earth for 2 long years. What if that voice isn't just a memory? What if it's a message from beyond the grave? Tonight, I will take you on a journey into the mysterious, the unseen, and the deeply emotional world where the past refuses to stay buried. Prepare yourself, because some songs are not meant to be forgotten. It started one quiet night just as the village fell asleep. I was lying in bed when I heard it, a soft, gentle singing. At first I thought it was the wind playing tricks, but the melody was too clear, too familiar. It was my grandmother's voice. Her singing was warm and full of stories, the kind she used to hum when telling tales by the fire. But something was different. This song felt distant, like it was coming from far away, yet right inside my room. I sat up, heart pounding, trying to find the source. The moonlight spilled through the window, casting shadows that danced on the walls, but no one was there. I whispered her name, but only the song answered. The next night and the next, the singing returned. Each time a little louder, a little clearer. Was it a dream or something else? That melody, haunting and beautiful, pulled me deeper into a mystery I wasn't ready to face. The nights grew colder and the singing never stopped. Sometimes it felt as if the song was coming from just beyond my bedroom wall, whispering through the darkness. I tried to tell my family, but they only shook their heads. "My grandmother is gone," they said softly. "You're imagining things." But I knew what I heard was real. One night, unable to sleep, I followed the sound outside. The village was quiet, bathed in moonlight, and the air was thick with a strange energy. I walked toward the old baobab tree where my grandmother used to sit and sing. As I got closer, the melody grew louder, echoing through the branches. I closed my eyes and felt a strange warmth, like an invisible hand resting on my shoulder. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept past me and the singing stopped. Silence. But in that silence, I heard something else. Soft footsteps fading into the night. The echoes in the dark were more than just songs, they were a call, and I had no choice but to answer. That night, the village felt different, heavier somehow, as if something unseen watched from the shadows. As I lay in bed, the singing returned, clearer and more urgent. I closed my eyes, letting the melody wash over me, and suddenly I was no longer alone. A faint figure appeared at the foot of my bed, a glowing silhouette of an old woman, wrapped in the same shawl my grandmother always wore. Her eyes held kindness, but also a deep sadness. She reached out her hand, and I felt a warmth spread through my chest. In a voice soft as the wind, she whispered, "I am here to warn you." Fear mixed with hope as I tried to understand. The voice from beyond was no mere memory. It was a message, a bridge between worlds. She spoke of secrets buried with her, of dangers looming over our family, and a promise I must keep. Before I could ask more, she faded into the darkness, leaving only the echo of her song. I knew then my life had changed forever. The singing was not just a haunting, it was a beginning. The nights after the vision were restless. Each time the moon rose high, I heard her singing again, clearer, filled with urgency. One evening, I decided to follow the sound once more, hoping to uncover its meaning. Under the silver glow of the full moon, the village looked different. Shadows stretched long, and the air was thick with mystery. I wandered toward the old graveyard where my grandmother was buried 2 years ago. The earth was freshly turned, the flowers still bright. As I stood there, the singing grew louder, wrapping around me like a soft blanket. Then I noticed it, strange marks etched into the soil near her grave. Symbols I had never seen before, glowing faintly under the moonlight. I traced them with my fingers, feeling a pulse of energy. The whispers weren't just sounds anymore, they were messages. Someone or something was trying to tell me something important. The moonlight revealed secrets hidden in plain sight, secrets that might explain why her voice still lingered beyond the grave. Determined to uncover the truth, I asked the village elders about my grandmother's burial. Their faces grew serious, and a heavy silence filled the room. "There are things about her death you don't know," one elder whispered. "She was not buried like others." They told me about a secret burial done quietly and without ceremony. A strange warning had been given to the family to keep her resting place hidden. I learned that long ago, my grandmother was believed to have powers, gifts to speak with spirits. Some feared her, others respected her deeply. That fear hadn't faded with death. The secret burial was meant to protect the village from the unknown forces tied to her. But now her restless spirit was singing, reaching out. Could the song be a plea for help, or a warning of danger? I felt the weight of her story pressing on me. The past was tangled with mystery and fear, and I was caught in the middle. If I wanted to find peace, I had to understand why she had been hidden away. That night, as the village slept under a blanket of stars, I returned to the graveyard once more. The air was thick and still, but the singing had returned. Soft, distant, yet insistent. This time, I wasn't alone. Whispers seemed to float on the wind, voices of others long gone, forgotten by time. They spoke in a language older than the village itself, their words weaving through the trees. I closed my eyes, trying to listen carefully. The voices told stories of ancient spirits trapped between worlds, caught in endless cycles of sorrow and regret. They spoke of my grandmother's soul, caught in a battle between peace and unrest. Suddenly, a cold gust swept through the cemetery, and I felt a presence beside me. I opened my eyes to see faint, glowing figures, ghostly silhouettes rising from the earth. Though their forms were fragile, their eyes burned with a fierce intensity. They weren't there to harm me, they were asking for help. The voices of the forgotten called out, and I knew my journey was just beginning. The deeper I dug into my grandmother's past, the more shadows I uncovered. Old letters, faded photographs, and whispered stories painted a picture of a woman, both loved and feared. In a dusty trunk hidden beneath the floorboards of our family home, I found a journal, her journal. The pages were worn, filled with strange symbols and cryptic notes about spirits, rituals, and warnings. One entry stood out, a warning about a curse placed on our family generations ago. A curse born from anger, betrayal, and dark magic. The truth was buried, hidden by time and fear. My grandmother had fought to protect us, using her gifts to keep the curse at bay. But her death seemed to have broken the fragile balance. The singing, the whispers, they were tied to this hidden secret. I realized that to save my family, I had to face the darkness long ignored. The buried truths weren't just stories, they were a call to action. The journal's pages revealed a dark tale that had haunted my family for generations. Long ago, an ancestor had angered a powerful spirit, breaking an ancient pact meant to protect our village. In revenge, the spirit placed a curse, dooming our bloodline to suffer loss and sorrow. The curse whispered through time, touching every generation with shadows of misfortune. My grandmother's gift wasn't just a blessing. It was a burden she carried to shield us from the curse's full wrath. Her death wasn't natural. It was a sacrifice, a final act to hold back the darkness. But now, the barriers were weakening. The nightly singing was her way to warn me, the next in line to prepare. I felt the weight of the curse settle on my shoulders. Could I break it? Or was I doomed to suffer as well? The past was no longer distant. It was alive, breathing through the night, demanding I face it head on. Memories long buried began to surface as I pieced together my family's history. Old stories told in hushed tones revealed secrets no one dared speak aloud. I learned about betrayals that tore families apart, and dark rituals performed in desperation. These shadows of the past stretched far beyond my grandmother's time, wrapping their cold fingers around every generation. One night, as I sat alone in the flickering firelight, I felt a presence behind me. Turning, I saw a shadow, vague but unmistakable, watching, waiting. It was as if the past itself was alive, warning me not to dig too deep. But I couldn't stop now. The voices, the singing, they called for truth, for justice. The more I uncovered, the clearer it became. The darkness was tied to something much bigger than I ever imagined. To save my family and find peace, I had to confront the shadows that haunted us all. And that meant stepping into a world where light and dark fought endlessly, a world where the past never truly dies. The wind whispered through the trees like a voice from another world. That evening, as twilight faded, I stood outside feeling the eerie chill settle over the village. Suddenly, the familiar song returned, soft, haunting, carrying a warning. I closed my eyes, letting the melody fill my senses. It spoke of danger, of a secret hidden deep in the forest, where shadows moved and eyes watched. The villagers had always feared that place, the ancient grove where no one dared to go. But now the spirit was calling me there. With each note, the urgency grew stronger. I felt a tug in my heart, a pull I could not ignore. The wind carried not just a song, but a message. Beware the silence, for it hides the truth. I knew this warning was meant for me. Whatever awaited in the forest, it was tied to the curse in my grandmother's restless spirit. The night held its breath as I made my decision. I had to face whatever lay ahead, or risk losing everything. Guided by the spirit's warning, I ventured toward the ancient grove hidden deep within the African forest. The trees stood tall and silent, their leaves whispering secrets only the wind could understand. There, beneath a great baobab tree, I found remnants of an old ritual, ashes from a fire, broken beads, and faded symbols carved into the bark. I remembered the journal's warnings about rituals meant to protect against the family curse. Could this be one of them? As I traced the symbols, a sudden breeze stirred the air, and the chanting began. A soft, haunting sound that seemed to come from the spirits themselves. I followed the sound, feeling the presence of my grandmother guiding me. She had tried to protect us through these ancient ceremonies, keeping dark forces at bay. But the ritual was incomplete, broken by time and fear. I knew I had to finish what she started, to restore the balance between worlds. The weight of the ritual pressed on me, heavy with responsibility, but also hope. In that moment, I understood. This was more than a tradition. It was the key to freeing my family from the shadows. The deeper I delved into the ritual's meaning, the clearer the cost became. The spirits demanded more than just ceremonies and words. They wanted truth, justice, and sacrifice. The village elders had kept silent for years, afraid to face the curse's full power. Their silence was a heavy burden, one that allowed the darkness to grow. Now, the price of that silence was clear. The restless spirit of my grandmother, the eerie singing in the night, and the shadows creeping closer with each passing day. I realized that breaking the curse meant exposing painful truths, long buried, betrayals, secrets, and lies that many wished to forget. The price of silence was not just my family's suffering, but the entire village's. I faced a choice. Continue hiding behind fear, or speak out and risk everything. The spirit's message was clear. Silence only feeds the darkness. I took a deep breath and vowed to break the cycle, no matter the cost. This was my fight now, not just for my grandmother, but for all those lost in the shadows. As the moon rose high over the African village, I found myself standing at the edge of the veil, the thin boundary between the living and the spirit world. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the distant calls of night creatures. I could feel the pull of both worlds, one filled with life and warmth, the other shrouded in mystery and shadow. Stepping forward, I crossed the invisible line, feeling a cold shiver run down my spine. The world around me shifted. The colors faded and the familiar shapes turned ghostly and strange. Here, spirits wandered freely and time seemed to bend. I saw faces from the past, some kind, others filled with sorrow. Among them was my grandmother, her eyes shining with both love and warning. She reached out, guiding me deeper into the strange realm. I knew that crossing this veil was dangerous. One wrong step could trap me forever. But the answers I sought were here, hidden between two worlds. With courage in my heart, I took the next step, ready to face the final challenge that awaited. In the shadowy realm between life and death, I faced the spirit that had cursed my family for generations. Its eyes glowed with ancient anger, and its voice echoed like thunder through the silent air. "You have come," it hissed, "but are you ready to pay the price?" I stood firm, my heart pounding, but my resolve unshaken. This was the moment I had prepared for, facing the darkness head-on to end the suffering. The spirit unleashed waves of cold that threatened to freeze my soul, but I remembered the lessons from my grandmother's journal and the ritual I had learned. Chanting the ancient words, I called upon the power of my ancestors, summoning light to push back the shadow. The spirit shrieked, recoiling from the strength of my will. With one final burst of energy, I reached out and touched the spirit's heart, a dark, pulsating core of pain and regret. "I forgive you," I whispered. The spirit trembled, then slowly began to dissolve into the light. The curse was breaking, but this victory came at a cost. I felt my own strength fading, as if crossing between worlds had drained my very essence. As the first light of dawn broke over the African village, the veil between worlds began to fade. The oppressive weight that had hung over my family lifted, replaced by a gentle warmth. I stood at the edge of the forest, feeling the sun's rays on my face, a symbol of new beginnings. The restless spirit of my grandmother appeared one last time, her smile filled with peace and pride. "You have done what many could not," she said softly before fading into the morning light. The village, once shadowed by fear and silence, now seemed alive with hope. Whispers of the past still lingered, but they no longer held power over us. I knew the journey wasn't over. There would always be mysteries and challenges ahead. But for the first time, I felt free. The curse was broken, and with it, a new chapter for my family and village had begun. With courage and love as my guide, I stepped forward, ready to live in the light and honor those who came before me. This was not just an end, but a promise, a new dawn for all of us.